Cruise ships are often seen as floating paradises, but behind the glossy brochures and serene views, there are some truly chilling stories that will make you think twice before booking your next voyage. These aren't just tales of minor mishaps or lost luggage. They are real-life horrors that occurred on the high seas, where luxury and danger collided in the most terrifying ways. From mysterious disappearances to shocking crimes, these stories reveal a darker side of cruise vacations that many prefer to ignore. Get ready as we explore 3 disturbing, true cruise ship horror stories that will leave you questioning what really happens out of sight on those seemingly perfect ocean getaways. 1. The Midnight Terror. Cruise ships are often thought of as luxurious floating hotels, offering endless relaxation and stunning views. But sometimes they hold dark secrets that only emerge under the cover of night. One such tale of terror unfolded in 2016 during what was supposed to be a perfect Caribbean cruise. The serene voyage turned into a nightmarish ordeal, and it all began with a single chilling encounter. It started on a balmy evening as the ship departed from New Orleans, bound for a week-long adventure across the Caribbean. For the first few days, everything was picture perfect. The sun was always shining, the food was exquisite, and the entertainment was top-notch. My family and I were soaking in every moment of our dream vacation. But as often happens in these tales, the calm before the storm was deceptive. On the 4th night, I decided to take a solitary stroll on the top deck. The sky was clear and the stars twinkled like tiny diamonds against the deep blue canvas of the night. The gentle breeze was soothing, and for a moment, I felt like I was alone in a vast, tranquil sea. It was in this perfect stillness that the first hints of unease began to creep in. As I walked along the deck, I noticed a shadowy figure moving slowly against the backdrop of the dark ocean. At first, I thought it was just another passenger enjoying a late-night walk. But as I drew closer, I realized something was off. The figure was a woman, dressed in what looked like an old-fashioned gown, something you might see in a vintage movie. Her attire was out of place, and her movements were unsettlingly strange, almost as if she was gliding rather than walking. I felt a shiver run down my spine, but decided to approach her, thinking she might need help or perhaps was lost. The night seemed unusually quiet, the kind of stillness that heightens your senses and makes every small sound seem amplified. As I got closer, I tried to call out to her, but she didn't seem to hear me. Her head suddenly whipped around with an unnatural speed, and I was met with a gaze so empty and hollow that it felt like a cold hand gripping my heart. Before I could react, the woman let out a scream that pierced through the night. It was a sound so raw and filled with anguish that it felt like it was tearing through the very fabric of reality. The scream echoed across the deck, freezing me in place. In an instant, the woman vanished, leaving nothing behind but the echo of her cry and the eerie silence that followed. My heart raced as I stumbled back, desperate to find a crew member to report what I had just witnessed. When I finally found someone, I was met with indifference. The crew brushed off my account with explanations of a prank or a costume party. Their dismissive attitude only heightened my anxiety. I was left feeling shaken and confused, questioning whether what I had seen was real or a figment of my imagination. The next day, I overheard a disturbing conversation among some passengers. They spoke in hushed tones about a tragic incident that had occurred years before on the very same ship. A woman had mysteriously died, and her spirit was rumored to haunt the vessel, forever searching for something she could never find. The chilling details of this story matched eerily with my experience. The realization that I might have encountered her ghost left me with a gnawing sense of dread. The rest of the cruise was a blur of anxiety and fear. Every creak of the ship, every flicker of a light seemed to remind me of that terrifying night. The once beautiful ship had become a place of haunting memories. I couldn't escape the feeling that I had brushed against something dark and unsettling, something that had been waiting in the shadows for years. To this day, the memory of that night lingers with me. A haunting reminder of how quickly a dream vacation can turn into a nightmare. The midnight terror is a chilling example of how even in the most luxurious settings there can be a darkness that lurks just beyond the surface, waiting to reveal itself in the most unexpected and terrifying ways. The abandoned cabin. One such story unfolded in 2021, involving a mysterious cabin that turned a dream vacation into a nightmare. My friend Lisa and I had been eagerly looking forward to our girls' trip aboard a luxury cruise ship. The journey started off beautifully. The sun was always shining, the days were filled with laughter and fun, and the evenings were spent enjoying the ship's many amenities. But everything changed on the third night, when our curiosity led us to a hidden part of the ship that we would never forget. After a day of sunbathing and exploring the ship, we were feeling adventurous. We decided to explore some of the ship's less frequented areas. Our wandering took us down dimly lit corridors that seemed to stretch on forever, away from the bustling activity of the main areas. It was in these shadowy passages that we discovered a cabin that looked strangely out of place. The cabin door was slightly ajar, a faint, eerie glow leaking through the small gap. We could hear muffled, unsettling murmurs from inside, which only fueled our curiosity. Despite our growing apprehension, we pushed the door open and stepped inside. What we saw inside was far from what we had expected. The cabin was shrouded in darkness, lit only by a flickering lamp in the corner. The room was covered in dust, giving it an air of neglect and abandonment. Clothes, old and tattered, were strewn across the floor, and the bed was cluttered with personal items that looked like they hadn't been touched in years. On the bed lay an old journal, its pages open and filled with chaotic scribbles. The journal described disturbing experiences, voices, shadows, and an overwhelming sense of dread. As we skimmed through the entries, the atmosphere in the room grew increasingly oppressive. A cold draft swept through, and with a jarring thud, the door slammed shut behind us. Panic set in as we realized we were trapped. We pounded on the door, trying to force it open, but it remained immovable. The room seemed to close in around us, the oppressive darkness amplifying our fear. The murmurs we had heard earlier grew louder, almost as if the journal's haunting descriptions were coming to life. The minutes felt like hours as we struggled against the door, our breaths coming in short, sharp gasps. Just when we were about to lose hope, the door creaked open with a groan, and we stumbled out into the corridor, our hearts racing and our bodies trembling. It wasn't until later, when we were back in the safety of the more populated areas of the ship, that we learned the chilling truth about the cabin. It had been sealed off after a passenger had vanished under mysterious circumstances. The journal we had found belonged to this missing individual, and according to the unsettling stories circulating among the crew, their spirit was said to haunt the ship, forever searching for a way out. The experience left an indelible mark on both Lisa and me. The memory of that abandoned cabin, the cold draft, and the eerie whispers haunted us long after our trip ended. It was a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind even the most polished surfaces. We never spoke about that night again, but the terror we felt remains as vivid as ever. The story of the abandoned cabin serves as a chilling reminder of how, even in the midst of luxury and comfort, there can be hidden horrors waiting to be uncovered. It's a tale that underscores the unsettling truth that not all secrets are meant to stay buried. And some experiences are destined to leave a lasting impression on those who encounter them. Three, the vanishing passenger. Cruise ships often promise a luxurious escape from everyday life, with visions of sunny decks and elegant dinners. But behind the opulent facade, there are stories that send shivers down the spine, tales of mystery and horror that linger long after the voyage ends. One such story unfolded in 2022, during what was meant to be the vacation of a lifetime, a Mediterranean cruise that turned into an unsettling nightmare. My partner and I had been eagerly anticipating this cruise, excited for the chance to explore the Mediterranean's stunning coastlines while basking in the ship's luxurious amenities. The first few days were everything we had hoped for: sun-drenched decks, gourmet meals, and endless relaxation. It was a picture-perfect escape from our busy lives. But the idyllic atmosphere began to crack on one seemingly ordinary evening. The night was meant to be a celebration. The ship had hosted a lavish party for the passengers, with elegant decorations and a vibrant, festive atmosphere. Guests mingled, enjoying cocktails and dancing under the glimmering lights of the grand ballroom. Among the crowd, one man caught my attention. He stood out not for his attire — he wore an impeccably tailored suit — but for the unsettling way he moved. He appeared disoriented, his eyes darting around nervously as if he were searching for something or someone. His presence seemed oddly out of place amidst the joy and laughter of the party. As the evening wore on, my partner and I decided to retire to our cabin. We made our way down the polished corridors, our conversation light and carefree. But our peaceful night was abruptly interrupted when we were caught up in a sudden flurry of activity. Security personnel rushed past us, their faces grim and focused. There was an air of urgency as they scoured the ship, but no one seemed to know what was happening. Curiosity and concern gnawed at us as we followed the commotion. It wasn't long before we learned that the man we had seen earlier was missing. The ship was thrown into chaos as the crew launched a frantic search for him. The atmosphere shifted from festive to tense, and whispers of confusion and fear began circulating among the passengers. The missing man was later identified as a high-profile businessman, a figure whose presence had been both commanding and enigmatic. As the search continued through the night, the crew's efforts seemed futile. Despite their best attempts, there was no trace of the man. His disappearance became a growing mystery, casting a dark shadow over the once celebratory atmosphere. Rumors began to spread among the crew and passengers. Some speculated that the businessman had been targeted by someone with a grudge, while others feared he had met a more sinister fate. Theories ranged from abduction to a planned escape, but none could explain the complete absence of any evidence or clues. The luxury of the cruise ship had turned into a breeding ground for anxiety and suspicion. The following day, the search was officially called off, but the disappearance remained unresolved. The atmosphere on the ship was heavy with unease, and the luxurious vacation that was supposed to be a time of joy now felt tainted by an unsettling enigma. The missing man's vanishing act left a palpable sense of dread among everyone on board, a constant reminder that something dark and unexplained had occurred. The days that followed were marked by an eerie silence. The crew and passengers spoke in hushed tones, exchanging theories and half-whispered speculations. The luxurious cruise ship, which had once been a symbol of escape and indulgence, had transformed into a haunting vessel where joy had been replaced by an unresolved mystery. To this day, the story of the vanishing passenger lingers like a dark cloud over that Mediterranean voyage. It serves as a chilling reminder that even in the most glamorous settings, there can be darkness lurking beneath the surface, waiting to emerge and cast its shadow over the most unsuspecting of places. As our chilling journey through these haunting cruise ship tales comes to an end, one question lingers in the darkness. What truly lies beneath the surface of those seemingly perfect getaways? These spine-tingling stories remind us that even in the most luxurious settings, horror can be lurking just out of sight. From the ghostly figure that vanished into thin air to the eerie journal of the abandoned cabin and the unsettling mystery of the vanishing passenger, these tales are more than just chilling narratives. They are reminders of the unseen and the unexplained. Have these stories left you questioning the safety of your next vacation or the hidden dangers of the high seas? What do you think happened to the missing businessman or the spirit trapped aboard the ship? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. We want to hear from you. If you enjoyed these eerie tales and want more spine-chilling content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Share this video with friends who dare to explore the darker side of travel, and thanks for watching.